Hi, my name is Adam Ward. I'm an instructor at the Canadian Forces Military Police Academy based in CFB Bourne, Ontario. Today, we're going to talk about problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is a student-centered approach to learning that helps students make better decisions, think critically, manage their time well, work effectively in groups, and cope creatively with conflict.
So problem-based learning came quite easily to me. I've always been a team player, and working in a team atmosphere also worked very well with me. So the problem-based learning in the course that I took and that I'm taking right now seems to be quite effective for me.
Problem-based learning for me was kind of effective because when you learn something from PowerPoint from a desk, you just like read it and you forgot the next time. But when you go and search and try to find it, you kind of like leave it there in your mind and always like kind of think about that. So
I actually found it easier, and it took a lot less time too. Because you can read a PowerPoint 10 times, and that'll take you however long. But if you go out and actually do something one time, it's the concept, it sinks in a lot easier and a lot quicker.
it was like PowerPoint's more dry material, like it's not fun, and which is not fun, like you cannot learn it. So
I definitely think it took longer, but for me, it was more effective.
You just saw a group of police recruits who said they enjoyed learning using PBL. Not only that, but they said that they learned a lot more using PBL than they ever would have learning through traditional lecture-based. But you might ask yourself, how does this fit in the real world? Does it actually make better police officers? Well, we interviewed members of the Brandon Police Service who had some interesting comments to say. Each of these officers that we interviewed were trained using PBL. Here's what they had to say.
You can't solve anything by yourself. You need a team. You need input. You need ideas.
Problem-based learning, helps to broaden an individual's thought process and kind of think outside the box.
PBL allowed me an opportunity to figure out a way as to how we were going to document what was happening, and through community resources, use the techniques that were taught of me in that course to figure out what we're going to do with it. In the end, so far, as a result of enforcement issues and some of the other things that the Brandon Police Service accepted and incorporated in their systems, we were able to minimize the amount of traffic accidents.
The problem-based learning that I received in recruit class, in effect, what it did was prepare me with a schema that while on the job, when I was presented with a problem, I could first of all identify what the problem is, and then be able to identify avenues of information that could be applicable, do the research, and then formulate a simple and effective response that's satisfactory.
It's allowing an officer to think creatively without having to rely on just information that's fed in and then just regurgitating it. You're actually coming up with what it means to you, and then applying it properly.
What do we need to do in order to keep our members up to date on what's out there? The criminal element, it's amazing, their skill sets, and I'm not going to give them credit on tape, but they're moving forward in leaps and bounds. We have to be equal to and above that. We can't lag behind.
You've got to use the modern technology of education, and that modern technology is problem solving. And learners do better when they problem solve because it's naturally part of what they do in their life.
Comfortable with being uncomfortable.
People look to us for guidance. They look for us to make a decision split second.
Because I'm a very much a hands-on person, I'm a visual person, I'm doing myself as opposed to PowerPoint, read this, write this down, okay, now do that. Whereas if I'm learning on my own time, making those mistakes, I can correct and have that cognitive memory of making those mistakes and don't keep making those mistakes in the future.
People, humans are creatures of habit, so generally when a person approaches a problem, they tend to do it the same way and whatever's most comfortable for them or what they're most used to. So the nice thing about problem-based learning, especially if you're interacting with other people as far as teamwork, is you get that amount of information from other people and you can approach a problem a different way, something that you might have normally thought of originally, and that can, it's not necessarily that it's better or there's a right or a wrong way, but it opens it broadens your horizons as far as where you can draw your resources from. And
when you're in the workforce, your boss isn't going to say, okay, here's a job, now I want you to do this, and this. They're going to say, here's a job. And then after going through problem-based learning, I can say, thank you very much, and I can go and do my job without having to go back to my supervisor and say, now what do I do? Now what do I do? Now what do I do?
When people learn through lecture, there's no retention. Sure, they may study for a test and get a good grade, but within a few months, they forget most of it. That's why we have PBL.
Problem-based learning's been tested quite rigorously in fields like medicine, law, engineering, nursing, and now policing. And there's lots of evidence out there for anybody who's interested to go get it, gather it. But for me, the most important part is to go and talk to the people who are engaged in the process itself and talk to them, and they'll tell you, I would say more than 90 times out of 100, that they would prefer to learn as an active, engaged adult as opposed to someone who sits there and does nothing and says nothing.
I think that problem-based learning, which isn't new, it's actually been around for quite some time, plus it's spread out the United States, Canada, and in different countries worldwide, is initially when we set up a training program from when I started here, you would have one individual with a comment from an educator's standpoint. In a lot of cases, the benefit of that back then was it was a police officer teaching police officers. Now we have gone to a point where educators are teaching police officers. And again, they bring a different aspect as to what their thoughts are over and above sometimes the narrow-mindedness that we have in policing, because we only think one way, hit the bad guy and that's it. Well, there's more to it on how to get that bad guy.
First of all, don't ask police to do things that they're not trained to do. They're not trained to go about curriculum development. They're not really trained as teachers. So if you want them to go into a classroom and teach, don't assume that just because they're a police officer, they know how to teach policing. Give them the training that they need. Secondly, get professional help when you're doing your curriculum development. That shouldn't be left to people who are just being transferred in from other agencies. If you don't have specialist training in curriculum development, don't expect police officers to be able to do it. You're always going to go back to the things that they know, and generally they know command and control kind of environments. It's a mistake that causes agencies to suffer and to fail.
So you take the problem-based learning model, you research it from an executive level to make sure it's exactly what we need in order to stay and move forward from where we are and continue forward. And with a new program, what you need is input. And if the input is good and we can build on it, we want to be there.
Emotional intelligence is not about the lovey-dovey, let's talk about our feeling stuff. It's about getting a domestic call and dealing with the husband and with the wife. They're in a heated argument, you get there, all of a sudden they start getting mad at you, and you have to connect with them at a human level. How do you do that if you're not emotionally self-aware of your own emotions? Here we have Dr. Rashford, PhD in sociology and criminology.
Huge topic nowadays, something that we should be spending much more time, resources, education, and training on. We spend all those monies on equipment for defensive driving, on the fire range. Well, emotional intelligence training should be right at the top of that list, particularly in the 21st century. Think about it. Self-awareness, social awareness, knowing internally what's going on with you when you're going to those barroom brawls, when you are the first officer on the scene of a fatal. You've got to know what's going on internally with you. Anger, grief, conflict. How are you going to resolve it? How are you going to manage it? These are all absolutely vital questions that we should be taking care of, and we should be equipping many officers and organizations with. So hopefully in time to come, we'll see that come.
Emotional intelligence is always a part of the stuff that we do every day in our lives. Think about nursing, think about engineering, lawyering, doctoring, policing, think about all those things. You cannot divorce any of those professions from an emotionally intelligent practice and hope to do it well. To be an emotionally intelligent practitioner means you can read both yourself and your environment. My question is, why are we not teaching this? Why is there resistance to it? People should be jumping up and down saying, give it to me, but instead, especially in some professions, we're poo-pooing it. And to me, that sort of reeks of insecurity. And I think we need to get past that.
I think emotional intelligence with PBL is taught every single day right from day one, because you need to interact with other people. And if you're not interacting with other people, there's no way to learn emotional intelligence.
When you have a new recruit sitting beside you, it's like a parrot. When you look at that example, is that parrot may copy exactly what you say, and it's how you say it. And if you start a learning base at a junior career and you're negative, you don't really care, that can actually be filtered on to that person sitting beside you. So you've got to be positive when you come on this job.
Some people complain that PBL takes more time in the classroom. In reality, PBL takes no more time than other methods of instruction, and your students walk away with a lot more.
I think of time as a 35-year career or a 25-year career. How you start a career, you may save an hour in the class and you've built a negative impression about education by that hour spent for 30 years. So remember, you're not just dealing with the time that you spend in the classroom. As an educator, I will tell you that we know for a fact that adults can only pay attention to lectures for a certain period of time. If you're lecturing beyond that certain period of time, any time that you think you've saved is in fact incorrect. You've lost it with the inattention of the student. And for any of your audience who want to go and see if this is true or not, go and sit at the back of the class and see how long it takes before all the Facebook pages are up on the computers. And that will give you some indication about time wastage. So we always have to be careful with what we're saying when we're saying wasting time. My view is that after you've been lecturing for 12 minutes, everything after that is a waste of time. In terms of this process, the PBL process, it is time consuming, but remember, judge that use of the time to learn something in the context of a 20-year career. And if you're teaching somebody how to learn, then it's time well spent.
PBL has been around since the 1960s. The point is, the world we live in is evolving, and we need to evolve with it. If you're in charge of a police academy, do you want to follow behind with PowerPoint or lead the way with PBL?
If this is something that helps you and makes you better at what we do, what more can you ask?